well, I am told it is 6 o'clock, so I would like to call us to order. In accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws, 1985, Section 30-4-80-E, the following have been notified of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting: the Herald, the Charlotte Observer, CN2, and WRHI. If I could ask, please, you all join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have all received a copy of the agenda. Were there any adjustments or corrections? No, ma'am. That will stand with unanimous consent. You also received a copy of the minutes from our November 2nd meeting. Were there any changes or adjustments to those? All right, then those will also stand as approved with unanimous consent. We move on to item 3, and we've got several exciting pieces of recognition. So I'll let you take that. Okay.
For the public's benefit, this is a most favorite time for us school folk. We get to honor children, and it's always fun. We do this for state champions and national winners and awards of equal importance and weight. So that's, or we'd be honoring kids for everything in the world. We got so many high flyers, but that's where we draw the line. And it's actually a board recognition, so that makes it special, we hope. I'm going to start tonight with the swim team at Fort Mill High. And first I'm going to get the swim coach, Miss Cindy Van Buskirk, to come up. And let's honor Cindy. She's been inducted into the South Carolina Swim Coaches Hall of Fame. I'm going to let you introduce. First, you can tell us a little bit about, we'd like to hear about the Hall of Fame. Okay. Just so we can appreciate it. And then you can recognize your swimmers. Olivia, okay. All right.
There's Olivia. I can just speak here. I'm Cindy Van Buskirk, Fort Mill High School swim team. I have been the head coach for 14 years, and I'm also the president of the South Carolina Swim Coaches Association, so basically high school swimming. And I was honored at the state meet for the girls' meet on October 9th. It was a surprise because the person in charge of making sure that there's a speech ready for all the accomplishments, making sure the school knows, the AD knows, the principal knows when we choose to have a coach inducted in the Hall of Fame. That's my job as president. So they did a wonderful thing, the Hall of Fame nominating committee. I was nominated by my dear friend and fellow head coach, Lori Glasgow of Nation Ford High School. We've been working together now for 7 years. She nominated me, and I was chosen, and they chose to make it a surprise for me. And the qualifications are you have to have been a coach for at least 12 years, and it is body of work, and I've been very blessed to have a lot of talent come through in my Fort Mill High School swim team, as you will see tonight with Olivia. And it is one of those for body of work, and with my work I was vice president of the association for 6 years, and then I've been president for 4. So I was pleasantly surprised. My friends joked with me. They said, Cindy, you know, we saw you, they posted on Facebook that picture of you being honored, and they said, was it a surprise? And I responded with, well, what do you think? I look like a deer caught in headlights. I had no idea it was coming, so I was very honored and very blessed. I'm only the 10th person since 1996, so very honored.
Let's give you the
We're getting word that they actually can't hear on the live stream, so if you wouldn't mind doing it from the microphone. We won't make you redo your whole speech.
Okay, well, thank you.
She said she was honored.
Yes, very honored, very surprised. And it is also my honor to acknowledge the outstanding swim of Olivia Corby. She is a sophomore with the Fort Mill High School girls swim team. This is this young lady up here. She is the 200 freestyle state champion, At the same meet, she earned a bronze medal in 200 free relay and a silver medal in the 400 free relay. She was a 3-time region champion this year in the 200 free, the 500 free, and the 400 free relay. And just so that you know, she scored 125 points for us at the state meet. So an outstanding accomplishment for Olivia Corby.
And this is yours.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Next, let's honor the, let me get it right here, the Nation Forward girls swim team with, is the coach here? Oh, they didn't come. Well, let me, okay, I was going to recognize them anyway. All right, we'll give them, well, let me call their name. Julia Powell, Bell Colatis. I'm butchering these names, right? There you go. Thank you. Ava Paget, right, and Emily Eaton of Nation Forward. They were the South Carolina State 200-meter freestyle champions. Let's give them a hand. Okay, if they come in, we'll re-recognize them. Next, the Fort Mill High School boys cross-country team. Is their coach here? Good. We're going to honor them. They were the South Carolina 5A state champions in cross-country. You want me to get? Okay. How they blew the competition away or something?
That's right. They did blow the competition away. I want to thank everybody who's associated with Fort Mill Schools for supporting the athletic programs that we have here. I think we have some of the best programs around. These athletes are tremendous runners, but they're also great students and great examples for those around them. So I'm super proud of this. I've told them more than once, though, the best is yet to come for them, both in this sport and once they move on from Fort Mill Schools as well. So thank you very much for this.
You guys can hang around if you want to, but we're going to do the next group in front of you. Okay, let me make sure I've gotten everybody except get into the arts. Okay, next, the Fort Mill High School band. Who's representing the band? They're coming. Okay. Come on up, Jason. Or somebody. Ren. Okay, somebody. All right. I've got a little information here which will help. The U.S. Bands and Bands of America are the two largest circuits of regional national high school band competition. U.S. Bands hosted 90 events this fall from Texas to Massachusetts. Fort Mill has won 3 previous Band of America regionals, and this is the band's first U.S. Bands regional championship. So let's give them a hand for that. You don't want to say anything? I'm going to add they will be going to representing Fort Mill School District at the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Dublin in 2023. We're proud of that. Okay, let's see. Here we go.
Squeeze in tight.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Thanks for sending that. Next, we have the recognition of the Catawba Ridge High School Band. We have them here. Okay, so Catawba Ridge and Darren's here. Darren, you want to tell us what they won? That's 3A state champions. Come on, I'll give you this and you can take it back. 3A as opposed to the other classification.
Is that their first, is that your first state championship? Congratulations. That's awesome.
First of many.
That's right.
We got one more, don't we? Yep. Recognition of the Nation Ford High School Band. They made it, okay. They are the South Carolina 4A state champions. Let's give them a round.
Thank you guys for this recognition. We're very proud of our students. It's been a tremendous year after a year of not being able to do marching band, and so we're very grateful and have a lot of gratitude.
Thank you. I do know we have some other state champions that recently this week. We'll honor them next in January, okay? Thank you.
All right, that brings us to our next item on the agenda is public participation. I do have two cards. I'll call you up. If you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and then you've got 5 minutes to address the board with any comments and concerns. First up is April Coburth.
Miss Spears,
Yes.
there is
Did I miss something?
no, there's an issue with the timer that's usually up on the clock, so I'll give
Okay.
folks a 1 minute warning when there's a minute left.
Okay. I have.
Thank you.
You're good whenever you're ready.
Oh, great, thank you. Hello, my name is April. I have 2 children in the school district. You have the rest of my information there on file. I am here representing Moms for Liberty, and I will be reading a letter from a concerned parent in the district, as this is also an issue that is very close to my heart. To the Fort Mill School District. Last week, I attended a substitute teacher training at the school district. I left feeling that all of the speakers that day do truly care about making Fort Mill School District a place where students can receive a great education and a safe environment. So thank you. It unfortunately reinforced to me, though, that the so-called COVID safety protocols instituted by the district are doing so much damage to our district, our students, and our staff. Safety and Emergency Service Coordinator Charles Todd did a thorough lockdown and active shooter training for the substitute teachers. He told us that because of COVID restrictions, students are not able to actively engage in lockdown drills in the classroom. The teachers give instructions on what to do, but they cannot actually practice hiding her portion of the drill because of the students needing to be 3 to 6 feet apart. After doing my own research and speaking to a few teachers in the district, I found that in practice, some teachers are being more thorough than others, but most are doing socially distanced intruder drills. In this way, the COVID policies of the district, which in theory were implemented to protect our students and staff, are seriously endangering them. Clearly, a socially distanced drill is a modified version of a best practice. My children retain information much better when they are practicing a task and not actively listening. Don't yours? According to BeSafe.net, mock drills serve as a means to evaluate the reactions of adults and students and how effectively they follow the emergency protocols. If our safety coordinators are not allowed to run thorough drills because they are restricted by these so-called COVID protocols, they are not being allowed to fully protect our students and staff in these situations or even be prepared to do so. Don't think it can't happen here. Yesterday, Lexington County, South Carolina, a 14-year-old was arrested for threatening to shoot a school on the heels of last week's tragedy in Oxford where 4 students were killed. This is one of the many important reasons why these COVID restrictions are demanding to our district, our staff, and students. And I implore the Board of Trustees to reconsider these protocols that are keeping our safety protocols and teachers from fulfilling their duties. Lockdown drills and trainings need to be one of the top priorities of the districts, and you are currently restricting administrators from doing everything they can to protect our students from these horrifying situations. Again, I beg you to reconsider the restrictions, especially considering the recent tragedy in Oxford. Do not let these beautiful souls die in vain. Let what happened to them be a lesson to you. You are truly a concerned formal parent and substitute teacher. And from myself, God forbid an active shooter enter a school where my babies are and they are not prepared. May God have mercy on your souls.
Thank you.
Caitlin Boyle.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. My name is Caitlin, and I'm here on behalf of Moms for Liberty. You have my information on my card. According to South Carolina Code 59-1-425, only the board has the authority to change the school calendar. I do not know if the superintendent is making these decisions on his own or if the board is making these decisions behind closed doors without public input, but either way, it doesn't feel very good to the community. I read through other parents' comments on your Facebook page, and I wanted to amplify their thoughts here. Number one, the excuse of the calendar change being a COVID mitigation strategy does not seem to make sense to the community. Your community largely, unfortunately, sees this either as a lie or an excuse and is left wondering what is actually true. Number two, the schedule change greatly impacts high school students who have lost 2 instruction days of the semester and have less time to prepare for exams. I also saw numerous parents also talk about the impact it has on vacations. Number three, parents feel that children's education is coming last. Asynchronous learning days are not legal school days, virtual school is not adequate instruction, and sudden calendar changes are truly not good for working parents, children, and especially not for the teachers. There is a huge question of whether the shortened 83-day semester is even legal. Number four, it is extremely important that we all acknowledge that these calendar changes disproportionately impact at-risk students, students with special needs, and healthy students who have been unfairly quarantined numerous times before. One of the moms at Moms for Liberty took a lot of time this past week to analyze the Fort Mill School District strategic plan and the South Carolina report card. Here are some of the results. From 2018 to 2021, SAT scores in the 12th grade dropped 75 points. English learning students who are meeting progress towards proficiency of the language has dropped from 74% to 60%. Grades K through 5 phonics readiness has dropped from 82% to 74%. Grades 6 through 8 math readiness was down by 9 percentage points, and the benchmark was missed by 16 percentage points. Clearly, the decisions that we are all having to make in the face of COVID are negatively impacting our children. To the board, you were elected to represent us, the community, the parents, and the children. We really want a return to normalcy, and part of this is maintaining the school calendar. We want board members who are willing to fight for our children and put them first. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Under item 5, staff reports, first up is our annual audit report. Ms. Lordo, you want to kick that off?
Sure. Good evening. Tonight we have David Phillips with us, who's a partner with Green Finney. They are our outside audit firm. We normally do this report in January, but we asked David if he was available to go ahead and come tonight because we have completed the report and wrapped everything up. We have submitted to the State Department as required prior to December 1st with all the supplemental schedules required as well. We are in the process of having your actual hardbound books printed. We will have those to you prior to the break for your reading pleasure over the holiday. And then in January, we will, as we normally do, we will recognize the students from the Nation Forward Graphics class whose artwork we selected to feature in the report this year. We had some just exceptional graphic designs. It was very difficult to select, so I think you'll be very pleased, and we will recognize the winning team at the January meeting. But we thought we would go ahead and invite David to share the numbers portion of the report with you this evening, and then certainly answer any questions while you have him here. So I'm happy to present David Phillips.
Great. Thanks for having me come earlier this year. Usually this is something we do like right after New Year's, and so everybody's trying to get back into the groove. But, as we've done in the past, you've seen these reports. They're pretty thick. When she puts it together, there's a lot of information in there. So I do want to encourage you to skim through it. But, what we have found to be more effective is just to put together a brief PowerPoint where we hit the highlights related to the fiscal year 21 audit. So if you don't mind, we will go through that. But if you have questions as I go through, please feel free to ask those, or if you want to wait to the end, that will be great as well. All right, well, we like to remind everybody of the importance of internal controls. This is a big organization. There's thousands, probably even hundreds of thousands of transactions that are taking place. And one of the things as your auditors that we try to look at is look at your significant internal controls and make sure that there's checks and balances, that those controls are working. And if we come across issues, it's not only important that we talk to Dr. Epps and Leanne and her staff, but it's important that you as a board be aware of it, because how can you fix something if you don't know there's a problem? So again, we're looking at that. These are the district's financial statements. And so our responsibility, it's on down, we'll jump over and I'll come back. Oh, wait a second, I forgot this thing doesn't do it the way I thought it was. Give me 1 second. Our responsibility is to issue an opinion. We look at things from a materiality standpoint. So we're looking at about 1 to 2%. Some of you, a quarter is material. And I know some of you, it might be 10% before something becomes material to you. So again, the way that they have kind of designed the auditing standards is that we try to get things to 1 to 2%, because if we had to audit it down to a quarter of 1%, your audit fee would probably be about 10 times higher. And so they try to do it from a cost-benefit factor, that we can give you reasonable assurance that you're in the 90 percentile, but we can't get to perfection. Again, you have an unmodified opinion, which is a good opinion. If we modified our report, it would say everything looks good except for something. And you don't want one. You want unmodified. There's no reason that we're modifying it. This year we had to implement a new GASB 84 on fiduciary activities. And what that did is it took those student pupil activity funds that used to have a separate place in the report, and they've been moved into the special revenue fund. So if you ever look in the back schedule, there's a B1 schedule. There is a column for student activity funds. So if you ever wanted to see what those activities are, but now they're back in that special revenue fund with other programs as well. All right, let me back up here. We like to, every few years, about every 3 to 5 years, to just talk a little bit about fraud. When they've done all the case studies on fraud, they've always said that 3 things must exist for fraud to occur in an organization. It's not just a school district, it's any organization. The first one there is that there has to be a need. So somebody has to have something going on in their life that would make them want to commit fraud. Maybe, there's a lot of medical bills. Maybe someone lost a job. So there's the need. They also have to be able to rationalize in their mind why it's okay to steal. We've seen all types of rationalization. Some of them, is, I haven't got a pay increase in 4 years, and it's not fair. I deserve to be making more. Or, you know what? I work harder than Susie, and she makes more money than me. That's not fair. So there's a rationalization occurs. The last part of that triangle is the opportunity. And if you notice, that is the only thing that an organization can have any control over. You can't control whether someone has a need in their life. You cannot control whether they can rationalize why it's okay, but you can make it so difficult that they don't want to do it. And that's why when we were talking about internal controls, you want there to be good checks and balances. You want to make sure the bank record, that when someone is processing a purchase order or invoice, that it's getting reviewed and approved, that somebody can't do it all. So again, if we came across significant issues like that, it's important that we make you aware of that. All right.
For Mr.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
So there are limitations on the internal controls. So I take it, things such as the GoFan that we utilize at the sporting events help mitigate those concerns.
It can, but as the student activity funds are always the greatest risk, because not just there at athletic events, but just think little Johnny or little Jill giving money to the teacher has to give it to the secretary has to get it to the bank. There's a lot of hands, and there's risk. So the more we're able to get cash out of the system and things are being paid for electronically, risk goes down. And go ahead.
That GoFan app that he mentioned, that is it's a new district way to
Right.
do the tickets that way instead of cash, so it certainly helps.
Right, a lot of people are moving, and one thing about Leanne and her crew, they move faster towards that than most districts. They do a lot of training for their bookkeepers and stuff, but I just want to tell you, about once out of every 4 or 5 years, you should expect something to hit the paper. Something will happen, someone will have an opportunity, and the hope is on that type of situation, you just catch it pretty quick, but it's going to hit the paper. It won't be a lot of money. But it makes you all look bad. But if you wanted to fix it, you would have to probably hire 1 or 2 more bookkeepers at every school. Think how expensive that would be. And so you have to weigh those cost-benefit factors. Because, we could fix it, but you're going to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to fix it. And your risk is maybe only a few $1,000s every few years. And so that's what you're weighing. Good question, though.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so let me keep going here. So let's jump here into the general fund and look at your unassigned fund balance. A good chart, you like to see the chart going up. You don't like it going down. Your unassigned fund balance there is $35.4 million. It increased about $2.8 million, and that represents about 22% of your 2021 actual expenditures. It's about 20% of your budget. One thing I want to remind you, every year you really need to add something to it because your expenditures go up. And if you want to keep the percentage at 22 and your expenditures always go up every year, you got to add a little bit more to it. And so that's what, Leanne is always trying to do, and Dr. Epps, to make sure that you keep those adequate reserves there. All right, so why do you want to have a strong fund balance? Remember, some of your revenues, property taxes, those bills go out in September, October. Most people pay the real property taxes in December if they want the tax deduction. The rest come in January, February. But you don't really collect a lot more property taxes the rest of the year. You get vehicles, but that's not the big dollars. Also, what if you have an emergency or unanticipated expenditure like a pandemic? You want to have money in the kitty that you can cover and keep going until good times or at least normal times come back. When you issue debt, you'll get better rates. If they see you have a good track record, they're going to give you better interest rates than the entity that's all over the board. Again, we never know what the Act 388 or the money's coming from the state, so you always want to have some cushion there. And then the last thing, just the uncertain economic times. All right, well, let's look at your revenues. Your general fund revenues were $158.7 million. They increased 8.2. Remember, for you, you've always traditionally just had so much growth. On that chart is, you're always one of the fastest growing districts in the state. And so your state revenues came in higher, about 3.2, with a slightly higher base student cost, higher fringe benefit allocations, and higher Tier 3 Act 388 property tax relief. Your local tax revenue, you keep having growth, and that generates more taxes. That's even despite a 1.8 mil decrease. So you still were growing, even though the millage got rolled back a little bit there. As it relates to your budget, you came in over budget, and again, mainly in the higher property taxes. And part of it is your staff is being a little conservative, too, in light of the uncertainty that we have in our economy right now. Let's look at your expenditures. They were $159.8 million, and we just kind of list the 2 areas. But remember, if instruction's up and support's up, we know what's driving it. It's almost always salaries and benefits. And remember, you had a number of new schools coming online, and that being the 2 elementary schools listed there with new positions. The good thing is you came in under budget. So, you had a budget and that y'all all approved, and your management came in under that budget by $2.5 million there. All right, let's keep going. Your special projects fund, it's it has a lot of federal and state programs. It's supposed to be isolated. because these monies are only for particular programs. You see some of those being Title I, IDA, USDA, and stuff like that. Approximately $16.4 million was expended. Your Education Improvement Act funds, these monies come in and they're only for particular programs too, and the state requires that they be put in a separate column. And so you expended about $4 million of funds there.
Mr. Phillips,
yes.
a quick question for you here regarding the EIA. So what are examples of some of the at-risk programs that would be, or that would encompass that?
Well, a lot of it's like at-risk student learning, summer reading programs, formative assessments. There's all these things that are kind of spelled out in that act. And so when they allocate those revenues, they go for those particular purposes. And Leanne has a whole list if you ever want to see all of it. But I will say, if you get this book, in the back, there's sections in there, and it will show you the various revenues, the titles of those revenues, and that kind of help you know what they're for. So I would encourage you to look at your B1 schedules. I know that's kind of a weird, but that's the format that the State Department of Education used. But they go through and list all the revenues and the various functions and services you're providing, and I think that will help too.
Thank you, sir.
All right, your food service fund. Remember, it has a challenging year of trying to serve meals to students and so forth. Your revenues were 6.4. You expended about 5.2, and you actually had a pretty good increase to fund balance. And we saw that kind of across the state because you had a lot of people not being able to keep fully staffed. A lot of the meals were being federally funded, and so you saw some increases in fund balances in your food service area pretty much across the state. Remember, these funds, these programs generally don't keep the special revenue, don't keep a lot of fund balance. Their purpose is to bring in the revenue and spend it on these programs. And so generally there's not significant fund balance except for the food service fund. All right, well, let's look at your debt service funds. I think it's pretty explanatory that the title is that they're for a debt. You have about $16.9 million in fund balance. Remember, your millage was decreased from 105 to 85. And then we just talk about how you had the 2020 general obligation bond. You used that money and some of your own money to advance refund the old 21 general obligation bonds. And so by doing that, because you're able to get a better interest rate, you saved yourself over time about $6.8 million. And so what Leanne is always constantly doing with the financial advisor, if they see opportunities where rates on their current debt could be lowered with a new issuance and save some significant money, they will look at that and come to you to see if that's something that you want them to proceed with. And that was, of course, something that took place this past year. The Capital Projects Fund is for capital projects. You have about $102.7 million of fund balance that's related to your district long-range facility plan. Remember we had some monies that we had been setting aside for school openings, and those monies were moved into this fund last year, and you have about $12 million remaining on that. You had a lot of capital projects. A lot of districts they don't have a school maybe once every 5 years. You have multiple schools every year. And you had $68.3 million spent, the middle school, the 2 elementary schools, and a lot of other projects as well. 2 new debt issuances for $66.1 million as well for continuing on a lot of these projects that we were talking about. All right, remember the pension liability, because you participate in the state retirement plan, we have to allocate your portion of that liability to your books. It wasn't a very nice allocation this year. It went way up. Your increase went up $36.5 million. And remember how that is calculated is they take your retirement contributions to the PBA as a percentage of all contributions to the PBA from the state, from all the other local governments. Whatever that little percentage is, they multiply that by the $25 billion liability that's out there. And that's how we come up with the $213.7 million of pension liability that you see. The real kicker here is not that. It's not like they're going to ask you to write us a check for $213 tomorrow. But the last bullet point is where they get you. They're raising your rates. And every year when, Leanne's putting together that budget, the rates are usually going up 1%. That's 1% on all your salaries that you're having to pay additional each. And then next year it goes up another percent. And so it's cumulative, but eventually it will cap out right now at 18.56 and 21.24 in the years ahead. Remember, this does not include that the employee contributes 9.75 if they're in the PRS. So there's a lot of money going into this pension plan. Yes.
Years ago, I think when maybe Nikki Hale was going today, they addressed this issue of the retirement fund by increasing this over a 12 or 13-year period, as I recall, 1%. When is the sunshine on this one, or will they probably get there?
And it will stay.
Another delta?
Well, they're not supposed to be.
They're going to be solvent, I guess.
Yeah, I think we'll get to that 18.56, through July 1 of 23 that year, but it will hold at that until they get 85% funded.
It's not true of all city and municipalities and all state. Like I think you said, 49 out of 50 states have this issue with their.
A lot of them do. Now there are a few out there that actually, a couple have an asset because they've really funded theirs well through time. Most struggle.
Most of the southeast, I guess.
Correct. Just to let you know, the state pension plans are about in the 50% range funded. So they want it at 85%. So they will keep these rates at that level until they can get it up to 85%, and that's going to take a lot of years.
Is this fund specific to the education community, or is it?
It's for every local government, yeah.
Local governments, but does it also include police officers and firemen? And
yes.
Okay.
But they're in the PRS plan, whereas most of the people in the school are in the SCRS plan, but they're very similar. You're also participating, in the OPEB, the retiree health insurance plan on the state level. It has another nice liability of $196 million. You got another $43.6 million. What hurts you is because you're growing, your salaries grow. Guess what? You get a bigger piece. So every year, there's some districts they don't grow at all. And so theirs goes down, but yours goes up. So again, that's part of it. The real kicker there is the last bullet point. That rate is going to be going up on you. That plan is less than 10% funded, this retiree OPEB plan. Don't think the 6.25 is where that's going to be. It's going to start ratcheting it up because otherwise they're not going to have enough money to pay those benefits. It's a lot worse off than the pension plan. All right, let's do some highlights on your capital assets. You have $561.9 million. They increased 37.5. We talked about a lot of those additions on the elementary school and the middle school, the Forest Creek there. But remember, when we capitalize something, we begin to depreciate it over its estimated useful life, and you had depreciation of 17.3. At year end, which was June 30th of 21, your major projects that were still in motion was the Forest Creek Middle School and some other projects. I know there's a lot more coming, though, too. All right, on your long-term obligation front, you have $561.9 million in outstanding debt and bonds and so forth. This increased $11.3 million. The big key here are those bond issuances that you see there. Remember, one was to refund another one, so you were saving some money. Others were to provide additional funds for capital projects. And then you made your regularly scheduled principal payments and that refunding payment that we talked about as well. Your debt service payments for fiscal year 22, the year we're in right now, is about $58.1 million. That's like your mortgage payment on your house. You got to make that payment, each year. All right, just a reminder of COVID. We hope we're getting near the end of this, but you never know with these new variants. And there's always risk. If things begin to get bad and they begin to shut down the economy again, that can have an impact on you. Your taxes could be impacted. Vehicle and businesses failing and so forth. Last thing, a couple slides here, is next year is the year we have to implement a new standard on leases. They want to treat all leases as if they're debt. So like if you ended up deciding to rent a building for 5 years at $100,000, on those government-wide statements where we show all your debt, they want you to set up a $500,000 liability and a $500,000 asset. They want people to see it on your balance sheet. Doesn't affect the general fund, the governmental funds, just those government-wide statements. All right, we had to do a lot of additional testing this year because of all the stimulus monies. We had to look at the ESSER program. We had to look at the state coronavirus relief fund. Then we did our normal looking at the IDA program. And the good thing is your staff really felt like they did a great job. We didn't come across any issues, deficiencies, or something that we needed to make you aware of. The last thing there is the management letter. It's a separate letter that you probably have received. It's a couple pages long. If there was disagreements I had with Dr. Epps or Leanne, I would need to let you know that. Or if there were issues, I would need to let you know. The only thing we put in there is just the reminder of the conversation we had earlier about Student Pupil Activities Fund. There is always risk there. We feel like y'all do a great job at trying to address it. You do training sessions, you do all types of stuff, but it's still going to happen. 1 out of 4 or 5 years, probably something will happen. And I just don't want you to get shocked by that. The cost benefit to try to fix it would be very, very steep. All right. Again,
Can I clarify
yes.
something that you just said? I think I know the answer, but we did execute the training sessions even though
Yeah, we did it Zoom.
Zoom this year, right?
right.
So hopefully we did
Right.
reach a lot of the players. And I know I personally have noticed a great uptick in the number of things that schools are using the online pay fees process
Yes.
for, T-shirts, club dues, just a lot more stuff that's going through that. So hopefully we diminish the cash.
Correct. I agree.
So another question here for
Yes.
you. So regarding a management letter, so every year you attach a letter. So is it safe to say that last year you had the same concern? And this was stated in it?
We put this concern on every school district because there's no way to get rid of it, that risk. And so we don't want you to ever lose sight that it's there, but we don't know if there's really anything else you can do about it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Again, good financial condition, an unmodified opinion, which is a good thing. The staff here are great to work with. We have a lot of our staff fight to be on this job, just because they're very organized, they're very thorough in what they do. So, any questions?
No, sir. Thorough as always.
Thank you. We like good news. Like it very much. Okay, Ms. Lorda, you have some other financial things you want to go over with us?
Tonight, we are presenting the monthly financial report for October 31st. So that's the 4th month in the fiscal year. Our total revenues to date as of that period were $33,486,220. Our total expenditures in the general fund were $49,416,426. So we were in a cash flow negative, pulling out of the fund balance of $15.9 million. That's compared to about $13 million same time last year, which I would expect since we're operating under a larger budget this year. As Mr. Phillips mentioned, October is probably one of the low points of needing to pull the cash from fund balance due to property tax bills. Went out mid-October. We did see some real estate tax revenue come in, about $1.6 million in October. Vehicle tax collections were once again slightly over $1 million, $1.2 million. And also October, if you notice on the detailed revenue statement, October is the first month that we began receiving Act 388 payments for this fiscal year. So that came in at $1,838,000, and that will run 10 payments through June. So that runs October through June each year. Other than those highlights, I did not have any other concerns in reviewing October unless you had any other questions about that month specifically. Okay?
Similar to the prior month report, the expenditures have gone up by a bigger percentage than the revenue, and I think I know the general answer, but I would like for you to address that.
Okay, sure. So generally, I expect to see the expenditures starting in August, since that's the first month of the teacher payroll for the new year. I expect to see the expenditures equal about 1/12 of the budget, where the revenues are going to be very much concentrated in the months of November, December, and January. So once we get to the period of January 31st is when I really will have a good idea, after I see property tax collections come in this year, of how I think we're going to track for the remaining months through the spring, through the end of our fiscal year for June of 2022. So just in our school finance world, the monthly revenues do not match the monthly expenditures. And once again, the expenditures per month this year are going to be slightly over last year due to our growth and the increase in our budget.
But it's a steady, constant increase, month by month by month, because of the being driven by salaries.
Correct.
Unlike revenues,
Correct.
which goes up higher during certain months of the year.
Correct. We should see, we should be substantially similar in our expenditures once we get into August and we run our payroll for the whole district. Did that help, Mr.? Okay. The next thing.
Florida.
Oh, sure.
Couple questions. One, I don't know if I'm reading this right. The property tax are a little bit lower than the comparison.
Between this year and last
Current
year?
year and last year. Address that, or what's that differential there?
I think that is very hard to predict, in that, as Mr. Phillips mentioned, you have our property tax bills did go out on time this year. They went out in October. And I will share that I've had very few calls, surprisingly. So I think we are seeing some happier taxpayers, because just for the benefit of the public, we did reduce millage. So I have not had as many calls about the property tax notices. Most of the calls I get are related to new homeowners in our community who purchased and their property went on the tax roll at the 6% assessment instead of the 4% assessment as a primary home. And then they know I've walked them through contacting the York County Assessor's Office to have their exemption for the school operating taxes. But it's very hard to compare, in that taxpayers generally, the trend is not always there that they're going to pay prior to December 31st, or they're going to pay prior to November 30th. And with changes in the individual tax law code now, with those limitations on your itemized deductions, a lot of taxpayers who before may have paid early to get that deduction, they're not seeing the need, so they may be holding their cash and paying it by the January 15th deadline.
No threat you're seeing there then with, it's not a huge reduction, but year over year, but you're not seeing anything concerning.
I'm not seeing anything concerning. As I say, I really can't make that determination till we go through the full tax season and see where we are in January.
Fair enough.
And then I'll let you know if I'm concerned.
Well, another item I want to ask about,
Sure.
if you're concerned, is I've noticed that some of the percentages of the budget, so if you look at it on the expense side, some of those percentages as a part of that budget are much higher. They're trending higher than the other remaining items. Looking through them, it looked like the thing they had in common was services purchased from outside, and also property, stuff like that, or supplies. And so
Versus salaries.
Versus,
and
yeah, it's not salaries, but it's
Correct.
mostly
Correct.
purchasing services from third parties and also supplies. So I guess the question is, knowing that things are costing more, are you concerned about any threat to the budget as a result of generalized cost increases, or those things that just are front-loaded on the budget?
Sometimes, I know just within the various departments, it varies the time of the year that they may make a large purchase that will be to cover them either for the full semester or for the whole year. They may buy something that's going to cover their need for the full year. I always tell the principals and department heads that if they go out and spend the budget first semester, fine. If there's a need, but the budget is the budget, and unless it is a safety, health type issue when the money's spent, we all have to operate within the remaining funds. So at this point in the year, I'm not concerned. I haven't seen anything that alerted me that we potentially would have a problem going through the year. Does that help?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
Children would say what is the risk to the budget of inflation, knowing that we passed the budget a lot earlier and, wasn't necessarily on the forefront of higher costs.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
for example, foods, right? We know that food items are costing more, right? I mean,
Correct.
they just are. Or I think about electricity and I don't know that we have any gas heating and things like that in our buildings or not, because I know on a personal level, you're seeing those increases now.
And we try our best to estimate if we feel like utility cost. Very hard to estimate. We look at prior years and make that determination based on information we also get from the local utility companies. If we know that they're increasing rates or they're seeing a potential cost adjustment coming, we try to go ahead and take that into account. But that is one where kind of goes back to why having some fund balance is important, because you're going to have to pay that is cash out the door, those utility costs. And we will have to pay those bills and then make adjustments in next year's budget if we have a problem with that. But that's why having some funds available is so critical for those type of things.
Thank you.
Yes. So impact fees, let me give you a quick update. We have collected to date $44,366,532. Single-family units, 1,774 units. Multifamily apartments, 1,012. So our total is 2,786. November, we had 40 homes come on and 33 multifamily apartments. We actually had one day in November, which I think was probably our second largest day since we began in July of 2018. We have had comparable data for 12 months rolling. For single family, we have from November 2020 to November 2021, we have about 430 units compared to 571 for that 12-month period before. So we're still about 25% less, but we're starting to see it picking back up again. Same thing for the multifamily. We had 252 units compared to 384 for the previous 12 months. So we're about 34% less. But calendar year, this year, we've collected about 60% of what we collected in 2020 for single family and 51% for multifamily. So we did see somewhat of a slowdown, but now we're seeing it coming back online again.
And I know the district has received a request for feedback from the county, the town, and the city, if I'm not mistaken, on potential approval of new projects, right? And trying to understand the impact.
Yes.
So
Yes.
seems like there's still more.
So as I mentioned, November, we definitely had more new, we say front doors come on than the previous couple months. So we are seeing some pickup with that. Two other things I wanted to mention. We do have a district procurement card program through Bank of America. They actually have the state contract, so it's no cost to us, no fees for those cards transactions. We recently were notified that we're going to receive, in the rebate program, we're going to receive $55,760, and that's based on our district spend volume. It's a little bit more than we had last year. We allocate that out to our schools based on each school's spend volume, their percentage of the total. We divide this out and basically add that to their budget. So they will be, and we also look at our 45-day counts. So we will be working on those calculations. But I always like to share that good news that that's very beneficial. Our schools are always excited to see their number. Yes. And then I've mentioned that the state has been in the process of a new state procurement code for purchasing. They sent us the adopted school district version We have reviewed it in detail. I've discussed a lot of things with our procurement department back and forth. We've heard the state speak on this several times, and basically we decided that we can accept it as our code. We feel like we don't need to submit any significant changes. The state has asked districts to adopt it as their code. We have notified the state that we will accept it as our code and bring it to you for formal review and approval. And as soon as we get that back from the state, hopefully that'll be in January, Kelly Keniston will bring that to you. She's also going to prepare somewhat of a summary for you as to some of the primary differences in the old code and the new code. But we will also begin looking at our exemptions as well as our internal processes and bring that to you with the idea that we would adopt this as of July 1st in our new fiscal year, the new state code. Any questions for me? Or okay, thank you.
All right, that brings us to item 6.01. We have an action item having to do with some dual credit discussion.
Yes, thank you. All right, is this the new clicker? Okay, very fancy. I was like, wait a minute, where is it? All right, so tonight I'm here to talk to you about a new dual enrollment program. I think it actually said dual credit, but this is dual enrollment. And just a reminder, dual credit is when students get high school credit and college credit, and dual enrollment is when they just receive college credit for the courses. So it is a small difference.
Does that mean it does not count towards their 20-something graduation courses that are required?
Correct, it does not count yet. And also another quick reminder, when we add new programs, something we really look at with our strategic plan is the profile of the South Carolina graduate. And this is it on the screen where it talks about what we're looking for in our students. And we want to make sure our new programs, our academic program is really aligned to the skills that are showing up there on the screen. Currently with York Tech, we have a welding program, an auto collision repair program, and building construction. One of the unique things about these programs, it would be really hard to fund a program at the school level just for the equipment and instructors. It's really hard to find instructors in these areas because oftentimes they can make more money out in the field and business. So it's a great partnership with York Tech. They have wonderful facilities, they have wonderful instructors, and our students that are interested in these careers, they get the opportunity to take the courses. So those are our existing programs with York Tech. Something that we are going to ask for your permission tonight to add to our program of study is the Advanced Network Security Certificate. It's the cybersecurity certificate. Really interesting program, and along with the other dual credit and dual enrollment options, there is currently no cost for tuition for our students if they meet the residency requirements. They have to be a South Carolina resident, I think for at least a year it is, and if they take at least 2 college courses per semester, they meet the requirements. And all the programs are set up where they get 2 college courses within 1 semester, so they qualify for it. There is a cost for books and certification exams in this program. So that is a cost for the students. It's a small cost compared to having to pay those plus tuition like all the typical students do. The entire Advanced Network Security Certificate program takes 5 semesters to complete. So students will have the opportunity to start the program in their junior year or senior year. Obviously, either way, it's going to take them past their high school career to finish it. Typically, it's done in a fall semester, spring semester, and then a fall semester, spring semester, and then a summer. So they would finish up in the summer semester with York Tech if they went through it all the way. They do not have to do that. They can just do a year, their senior year if they wanted to, and then complete the program after they've already graduated from our school district, or if they wanted to take it their junior year and skip their senior year, they could. I don't anticipate any students doing that. If they were already started, they would want to get through, but that is an option.
Would these college credits, since they wouldn't be high school credits, if they took it junior and or senior year with us, be used for anything else if they went elsewhere besides York Tech? Post-graduation?
That depends on the institution. It's really up to the institution. I know a lot of times they might count as an elective credit. Like say if they ended up going to USC or Clemson or College of Charleston, they would probably, and it's up to the institution, so I can't speak for them, but they would probably take them, but probably as an elective credit. So if they complete the program, they earn the Advanced Network Security Certificate, and then they also have the opportunity to earn the nationally recognized Certified Ethical Hacker credential, which just sounds pretty cool. But those are the two main ones that they get from the program. But then they also have other tests that they're eligible to sit for based on the courses, and those are on the screen: the Cisco Certified Network Associate and the, I don't know how you say that, the A+, the CompTIA A+ certification. Those are two additional courses, or two additional certificates that they have earned the right to sit for and take the exam through the courses that are offered in their program.
What would these courses, or the degree program that these courses would fit into if they continued at Tech for an associate's degree?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I know they have other network security certificate programs, but that's definitely some more information that I could get for you. I'm not sure. But one of the questions I asked was along those lines. I said, okay, if a student completes this program, what's in it for them? Like, are they career ready, or is this just a stepping stone into the next certificate program? And York Tech says this definitely makes them career ready and career prepared. And of course, the more certifications they earn, credentials they earn, the more attractive they will be to employers and the more they will earn. But they said that when they finish the program and they get Cisco certification, which they're able to sit for, he said they are easily finding jobs in the $55,000 to $65,000 starting salary range. He did say that they had one student who started out over $100,000 who got employed with Cisco. And they said that's definitely not the norm, but it does happen. But he said, realistically, a student, they finish our program, they get Cisco certification, they will find jobs starting in that salary range.
And realistically, you could be talking about a year post-graduation because you've got a summer and 2 semesters.
Right. Or if they even started in their junior year and they take it junior and senior year, then it's just that summer after graduation.
Oh.
And they would finish up the program.
That's wrong. Okay.
Yeah, it's a total of 5 semesters.
Okay.
Yes.
I saw this after 3 after graduation. That's even better.
Yes. And it also depends like on their high school schedule. Of course, they have to finish their high school requirements first. So I think it would have to be a very dedicated student that is 100% focused on this to start at their senior year. If there's students that want to take all their other courses that they're interested in, it might be more of an option for their senior year, but then they're halfway on their way to completing it once they graduate. Any questions?
I'm so excited about this class. This is, from what I understand, one of the up-and-coming fields, and I'd love that we're giving our students the ability to at least get their feet wet or potentially get almost all the way through the program and be able to start right away, come August or September after they finish that summer class. So thank you for not only looking at jobs that we know are here, but then also jobs that are going to be in high demand in 2, 3, 4 years from now as well.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Yes, it's exciting. Any other questions? All right, so we'd like, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I think it's wonderful. I'm glad that we have this.
Thank you. So we would like to ask for board approval to implement the new opportunity for our students of the dual enrollment cybersecurity program with York Tech.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to approve the Advanced Network Security Cybersecurity Certificate courses as presented this evening.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the recommendation for the Advanced Network Security Cybersecurity Certificate courses. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, new courses.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Fun stuff.
All right, I believe, I can get back to my agenda, that brings us up to, our report. So 5 of us spent the weekend at a conference in Charleston in preparation for the legislative session that is coming up starting in January. I thought it was a very worthwhile 2 days. I'll share just a couple thoughts, open it up to you guys for anything you want to add. We heard from legislators in terms of what they saw some of the priorities to be. We heard from our state economist in terms of what we saw the financial opportunities to be. The things that I probably heard the most was that there are dollars, and maybe, just maybe, this could be the year for either teacher raises and/or base student cost improvements. We're all holding our breath, but, you know, maybe, just maybe, this is the year. We also heard, you know, maybe this is an opportunity for some pre-K, universal pre-K this year. However, also heard that it might be the opportunity for voucher programs to be introduced this year. So those were kind of the biggies that are floating around out there, and who knows which way the wind is blowing at the moment.
Well, a couple comments I'll have is, majority of those funds, I mean, significant dollars, but most of that is in one-time money. So that's a bit of a problem and may affect things. Like, they may be able to, they're being careful about what they implement because it's got to be perpetuated after the fact. So don't know how that's going to roll out. And on the voucher thing, well, first of all, vouchers come up every year.
Yes, they do.
This just happens to be a potential stronger push year. And be wary that there's going to be a lot of distractions placed out there, straw man kind of conversations. You know, wash my hand while I'm over here doing this, and as it applies to this. One of the concerns in what they're proposing is there's been examples of it already, and it ends up being escalating expenditures every year. You know, it may start off, say, at $50 million a year, then it's going to be $200 million, and then it gets bigger and bigger. And those funds come out of the same pocket, same funds that they send to public schools. So, you know, that one's going up, this one's going down. You can envision what that means from there.
They did recognize in conjunction with your 4-year-old preschool comment, or funding that they recognize that, wow, you can't do that if you don't have the facilities. So one-time money might have an opportunity to shift some to that. That would be unprecedented, so we'll see. I'll continue to sit here and hold my breath. Yeah, right?
Leanne, one other thing I just thought of, they also talked about how difficult it is because so many of, and it's kind of what, when David was here, we talked about different line items have to be spent on different things, and maybe there was an opportunity to do some collapsing, but there was some caution about when we collapse, we got to make sure, because they're all based on different, you know, denominators and that kind of thing. So I assume that you and your team are watching all that kind of stuff very closely.
There's been discussion about that over the years, and we've seen that happen where they'll pull a program into the general fund and increase base student costs.
Right.
But it's not really an increase.
Right.
So we're just hopeful that they would not do that to a large extent.
The request was at least anything that does get rolled up is very transparent in terms of the net impact to every district, pluses and minuses.
And there's probably some small ones that could easily be rolled up without a lot of impact.
Sure. Well, and we did have a good panel this year by comparison to what we've had in the past. I think in the past we've been doing great if we can have 3 or 4, 1 or 2 senators and 1 or 2 House. And this year we had, I think, 8. So we had, locally, we had Senator Fanning and we had Senator Martin. And then we had Rep. Allison from the Greenville area and a rep from the Spartanburg area. And my other 2 on this other side, Allen, he's, I believe he's a senator, Senator Allen. And I think he's from kind of that low country Charleston-ish area.
One of them was.
Yeah. So, but it was nice to have a panel that was thoughtful and is in tune to education and believes in education in our state. That was refreshing, because we don't always get that.
And diverse, right?
Yes.
We had both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
We had all different parts of the state. We had those who were on education subcommittees and those who were not, so
Right.
beneficial. Like I said, let's just hope that they were able to come through with some of their ideas.
Remember, the board will remember that one of the district's primary dreams or focus is the early childhood center as we go forward. We've had that on our wish list for, ever since I've been superintendent, and I know before then. We have some, if we could come up, it would take a bond referendum probably, unless there's some other way to do it, to build a center. We have a plan in place. We're ready. We've got to see how the dollars flow. We're one of 17 districts, as you know, that are for early childhood talking about four-year-old programs now, are not funded in the state because of our low poverty situation. So the available money goes to districts that need it. That's for sure. But we would dream and have it too, because all the research, as you know, shows that children clearly, when they can have a four-year-old formal program, whether it be church or a high-quality program, come to school ready and perform better academically on the back end. So it's, I remember when we didn't even have five-year-old kindergarten. It was half day. And then in 1998 or so, we went to full-day kindergarten. I may be off on the years, but and that was a really significant move then. We're hopeful. That's our dream. At least been my dream for the time I've been superintendent. But it would benefit us so greatly if we could.
On the funding piece, one other thing they brought up is something that's been brought up ever since I've been on the board now, for a long time now, and that is tax reform, and that is really a key piece of being able to fund things the way it needs to be funded. It's so disjointed, it's been piecemealed, and little fixes have been added. Instead of fixing the base problem, they've added little fixes in, which is just further complicated and dug a hole for us, so it's a big deal. But apparently that is a big topic, at least again this year. So it is one of their focuses.
This was Anthony's first opportunity to get to go in person. And we heard people coming up and we need to repeal 388, right? And I think, as much as we would all like to think that could happen, that ship has pretty much sailed. So it's really a multi-year effort of broad reform, to your point, as opposed to repealing 388 and just switching our taxes back.
Right.
Another thing that happened down there, this is a time when we send our delegates down there to vote on what the School Board Association legislative focuses are for the year. What are the most important things that we want to try to attack? So there's long discussion on all of that, as sometimes is common.
As is sometimes
really
the
long.
case.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yes,
Okay.
very drawn out.
Yes.
But anyway, another thing is that we all collectively vote on our regional reps and the for the State School Board Association. I think we mentioned it last time, but it is now for real happened. Our own Michelle Branning has been elected as the Secretary-Treasurer for this School Board Association, so congratulations.
And that does put her in line to become the president of it in 2 years?
Roughly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I believe that's the first rep we've had from York County in several years. Wayne was probably getting ready to point that out.
About 30.
I think it was 1991.
Great,
So
yeah.
it's been, from our district, it's been 30 plus years, 31, 33, something like that. And from our region, it's been 30. So I think it's been 33 or 35 years from our district and 30-ish from our region.
And Robin from Rock Hill will
Yep.
take
Right.
Michelle's place for our
As
overall
our region
region going
director.
forward, so. Yep, it was a good session.
Yeah.
Good session. Anything else? All right, then it's your turn.
Oh, no more comments? I thought y'all would. Okay, well, I'm good. We'll go. Let's start with calendar of events. Let me get my mouthpiece going here. And y'all can help add. Of course, the School Board Association Legislative Conference you just attended. school board meeting tonight, principals meeting on Wednesday of this week, then the holiday listed there, the Christmas holiday. And then January 2022 is the National School Boards Appreciation Month, and we'll have some more information about that when we meet in January. There's the work day on the 4th and the students return on the 5th. The board's regular meeting on the 5th at 6 p.m. Of course, the holiday for Martin Luther King on the 7th, is that? 17th, okay. Then we've mentioned before, but we went ahead and put it on the calendar, and we hadn't firmed up the time, but we typically do the administrative retreat at the January 2nd meeting, so that's, if you kind of pencil that in, 11:30 to 4-ish, and then the meeting afterwards if we need another meeting that month. So I do think, I didn't put it on the calendar because we were still firming up when Pat typed this up, but January 7th is the joint meeting tentatively scheduled of the 4 York County boards with the legislative delegation. And we do this every 3 or 4 years as an opportunity to tell them our concerns and listen to them a little bit too. And y'all heard them. Of course, you heard it from
I was gonna say,
statewide.
similar to what we just did this past weekend, but on a York County level.
What was the time of that?
I was gonna say,
Time
do we
and
have a
place?
time on that?
It'll roughly be lunch. I hate to get them, they all got to get back to work too, so 11:30 to 1-ish, and maybe 15 minutes for each district, all 4 of us, and are surrounded around a lunch. So we may go over a little bit, but pencil in 11:30.
On the 7th.
And that'll be here. We're going to do it here in Fort Mill on the
Oh, we're
so
hosting.
Friday. We're hosting. It's our turn, I think.
So I will be at a state board retreat, as will Robin, so we won't be in
We'll miss
attendance for that. The other thing that I learned last week, the COG that we regularly do in January are planning to host their legislative session on the 6th
I think I saw that.
in Ridgeway at the, Chester, at the little conference center down there. Randy was sharing that with me Thursday when I saw him, so that'll be Thursday the 6th, and that's usually like, I don't know, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Like a 4:30 to 6 o'clock drop-in meeting type thing. What do they call that center down there? Gateway, OEC Gateway. or
Gateway
something?
Convention Center,
Yeah, something like that. And that's for elected officials, right?
yes.
Okay, enrollment update. Any other dates, board members, that I didn't mention? Enrollment update, we gained 14 students last month, so we're on kind of that little slow increase each month that we go through. Started out with in the low 17.8s, now we're climbing on up. I guess the next milestone will be 18,000. I predict we'll hit it before the end of the school year, but I've been wrong before. But
Well, we're gonna drop, I don't know, I'm guessing 80 or so again.
yeah, we dropped them off, but we
mid-year,
really
they
know
usually
they
drop
should
them
be
off.
in there, but yeah, you're right. So we're getting there. Monthly attendance winners for October, Nation Ford High School with the 94.6, Springfield Middle with 96.7, and Springfield Elementary with 96.2. So Springfield Middle is the district winner. Congratulations for that. I'll mention a couple of other things while I got the mic. We did complete the Cognia, let me get my notes out here, and Marty's here if I need to, she needs to give us the update on the Cognia Accreditation Engagement Review. We completed that November 7 through 10. Remember, Cognia is an international accrediting organization. They sent a five-member team, well, they didn't send them, it was done virtually. 5-member team interviewed, and you see the numbers. I mean, you can't see them, I can see them. 211 stakeholders they interviewed, including board members, teachers, parents, business members, and students, and reviewed the standards and evidence in the executive summary we provided. The final report will be approved and sent to us in January, right, Ms. McGinn? And we will have that. We'll present that to the board when we get that in our hands. The chair, Dr. Gilworth, was very complimentary of the district and our preparation for the review. It was a thorough review. We compared it to our last couple of reviews, and this one was either we addressed everything they were looking for, or we were better. This one we were pleased with. The last one, not as pleased in some areas. So we were proud of our, and we'll reveal all those numbers when we get them finalized. They have to be approved, I think, at their national meeting, or, right, Marty? Anything I can reach, the overarching themes was that we had visionary leadership with strong school and district leaders, strong resource management, and community and school culture committed to children first every day. For deeper consideration, or areas to improve in, I like their language, deeper consideration. Work equity and changing demographics, consistency and constancy across the district as we grow, and effective protocols to advance system goals. So that we'll go into more detail and explain what those are in January. And we will be currently working to use their findings to include in part of our new strategic plan and school improvement plans, which of course will be due to the state April 30th. Did I leave anything out? I can read what you wrote.
And there will be some future sessions to do strategic plan?
Right. In fact, yeah, what we set I think it was put on the calendar, February 20, the planning committee with the strategic planning. February 25th is a Friday. You'll get an invite as board members and many of the school folks. That's where we'll do the not begin, but that's our next.
The next wave of it.
Yeah. It'll be like a lunch to 2 or 3 kind of thing. Isn't that what we do, Martin? Okay.
A lunch and learn.
In the meantime, there'll be committees working on each of the goal areas and strategy areas, and that will involve all principals, assistant principals. They wrote, I sent something out there, able to choose which committee they want to be on, and so every school will be represented on each of those strategies. It's a 5-year plan, it's the new plan. And then each school creates their own school improvement plan. So teachers will be really heavily involved in the school improvement plan that align to this district plan.
Okay. Questions about that? I'd like to read a statement into the minutes of regarding the e-learning, and the parents received this memo at 3 o'clock or so, Joe, right? And I just want it to be as part of the official minute. Good afternoon. The district has received further clarification on the use of e-learning days as related to COVID-19. Based on this new information, the district will not schedule e-learning for December 2021 as previously announced, and will adjust our school calendar to begin winter break for students on Monday, December 20. The new schedule is as follows: Friday, December 17th, the last day for students. Monday, December 20, the teacher work day. Tuesday, December 21 through Monday, January 3, the Christmas or winter break holiday for students and staff. Tuesday, January 4th, teacher work day. Wednesday, January 5th, students return. In order to accommodate these adjustments, the following changes have been made to the 2022 school calendar. Friday, February 18th will now be a half day for students and staff. Friday, May 27th will now be the last day of the 21-22 school year, a half day for students. And then we include a copy of the revised calendar. The district believes the adjustments to the schedule are an important factor in mitigating the spread of COVID-19 during the winter break, and will offer important planning and collaboration time for our teachers and staff as we transition to the new semester. Additionally, we believe these changes are the best option to ensure our calendar maximizes 180 days of face-to-face instruction while minimizing the impact of COVID-19 in our district and community. And what it does, it makes this first semester go from 87 to 85 days, and the second semester 93. We had a 93-87 split. Typically, we have a split. The silver lining in this being, you say, well, 85, 93 is in the spring semester. Several days are dedicated to testing. So it's a little different schedule than the fall in regards to instructional days, although the numbers don't look that way. But there are you lose a lot of instructional days for testing in the spring. So it's really closer in that regard, just as an editorial statement there. So that's what we sent out at 3 o'clock today.
We are in need of are you finished? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay. We are in need of an executive session to receive personnel recommendations and to discuss legal issues. I would entertain a motion to move into executive session.
Motion to go into executive session?
All right, we will move into executive session. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful night and a wonderful holiday.